calming measures. I said, hey, we want that for District 7. And Jennifer has been really helpful in trying to think through what we can do to calm that traffic, keep it as a bike boulevard, and also think of some really pretty things that we could do as well. And so I'm just going to turn it over. We have Jennifer Morrow. She is the Deputy Director of the Department of Municipal Development, and she's an expert on all these things. So I'm going to just let her talk you through what she thinks could work. This is a proposal. This is not happening until we have this meeting and we have some conversations with folks. But I'm excited about it, so I'm just going to turn it over to Jennifer and let her get you excited too.
Thanks, Councilor. So I am a big fan of roundabouts, and when Councilor Peterson came to me and said that people were asking about this, my first thing was, hey, some of the other areas have roundabouts, and you know, what do you think about this as bringing it to the neighborhood and seeing what they think about adding the roundabouts in their area? I don't know if many of you have ridden or driven down Silver Ave. There are multiple roundabouts on that, and that's kind of what we're looking for with this, is because we know there's a lot of speeding on Alvarado, there's a lot of speeding on Summer based on how much distance there is between the stop signs. So people kind of pick up their speed until they have, I think, a quarter to a half mile between stop signs on those roads with the way that the intersections are laid out. So what I'm going to do is I have a presentation on roundabouts, and I am going to go ahead and just dive into it and tell you why I love them so much. So are we looking good on the screen? Everything's there? Okay. So the Federal Highway Administration did a study on roundabouts. And one of the things they found is that there are fewer crashes. Let's see here. Oh, I get what she's saying. Give me 1 second, guys. I got this. Because we can do it here. 2. Let's see here. Okay, now I got to get back to that part of the presentation. Where are you? Because this is not what I'm seeing. All right. Sorry, guys, I apologize. It's hard on these little screens because there it is. Okay. Now I can see it. Now we should be good. All right. So and then I can't tell because I'm flipping back and forth. That's why I said that I have this. It doesn't want to, does it?
I think you you've done it there. Can you go to your next slide? Okay, there it is.
All right.
Sorry about that.
I got it, guys.
Thank you, Lee. Absolutely.
All right. So the Federal Highway Administration, they found that there's fewer crashes, fewer fatalities, fewer injuries. We're actually seeing that as also, it's not just cars that we're seeing that with, we're seeing it with pedestrians as well as with bicyclists. There's an increased time savings with not having to stop and keeping the traffic flowing. And it's environmentally friendly. It's a great carbon footprint because you're not stopping and going, so you use less gas. Some of the items too is the money it saves. Keeping a signal operational is really expensive. And then also when there's a power outage, your signal's out and then you have your backed up traffic. I'm sure you've all experienced that. And they're finding that it makes it easier for businesses that are near roundabouts, and it makes it more accessible and people have an easier time getting in and out. And the last one I thought was kind of fun. It can act as a marker to a business or a downtown district. So this is something you can kind of use the roundabout. You know, you've seen roundabouts with art in them and with like a statue or some kind of piece in it. Sometimes it's just landscaping. So that's always an interesting thought of using it as to advertise your own neighborhood or your own personality. There was another study done. It was a Minnesota study, and they had put in almost 450 roundabouts in Minnesota. And so they took 95 of these roundabouts that had a high usage of pedestrian and bicyclists, and you look specifically at just the pedestrian and bicyclists. And they found pretty close to the findings that the FHWA found as well, that there was less crashes, there were less injuries, there were less fatalities. And that was also for pedestrians as well as bicyclists. We did have an incident probably 3 months ago or so where somebody called into our Albuquerque Journal, the Road Warrior, and they actually said that they wanted to remind people how to drive a roundabout. And it says, Albuquerque drivers are not well educated on proper etiquette and legal responsibility when negotiating a roundabout. He recommended that signs through the traffic circle read, vehicles to your right has the right of way, be courteous, zipper, mingle traffic flow, and please use your turn signal, along with pictures and diagrams. Unfortunately, this is exactly the opposite of how a roundabout works. And so this was kind of, you know, we use this as a learning experience. We got in touch with the Road Warrior. We talked to the woman that runs it, and we had her redo another article about the correct way. And we used it as a positive to get people to learn the right way to use roundabouts. I have as part of this presentation, and it looks like it's not going to show up. Oh, there it goes. A little, do you guys got 2 minutes? Do you mind me taking this as a how to use a roundabout 101? It's nice and simple, and it looks like the link's working, so I'll take it. Now we got a volume problem. No volume. It's always something, isn't it? You may not get the simple 2 minute. It's not giving me. This might be where we turn it off over here.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting? So, is there a recent traffic study by the city that has been done in this area?
So what we have done, actually, I think I might have it working. If I don't have it working, and we're just going to skip the part. We have done a study, and yeah, I'd love to talk to you about that.
Okay, I'd love to see it. That's all.
All trees again.
You guys see that? No, you're still on that. I can't get that screen on my computer. I sincerely apologize, guys. Okay, I think we got it going. Well, yeah, and it just goes around, but it doesn't sound like I got the volume still, so I didn't get it. But how about, I'll just talk you guys through it. So, if you look at the roundabout, once you're in the roundabout, you have the right of way. So you see the green circle, you see where the cars are, and if you come up to the roundabout, if there's cars in the green circle, you have a stop. So you're in a stop condition. When it opens up, you're at a yield, and then you become in the green condition again. So it's a flow counterclockwise, and then once you're in the circle, you have the right of way. So the nice thing about roundabouts is that you only have to look to the left. Like you have to look for pedestrians or bicyclists, but when you're looking to merge to cars, when you're at a four-way stop, you have three other people that you need to look for, three other directions. And then all three of those directions, they can be taking three different directions, right? They can turn right, they can go forward, they can go left. So you have to pay attention to all these moving things. When you're in a roundabout, you only have one thing to pay attention to. Is someone coming from your left, or do you have an open gap and you can move forward? So that's what's really nice about having the roundabouts. And I think that's a large portion of why we see that we have a reduced amount of crashes, because you have less interactions, less people going in different directions. So I don't know if you guys have heard about Candelaria and Rio Grande.
Would you please say what a PDO is?
Yes, it's property damage only. At the bottom, I actually put an asterisk just for that case, because I realize it's not a commonly used term. This was a very controversial roundabout, and this was when it finally went in. It was pretty iffy whether this was going to get built. There was a lot of pushback from the neighborhoods. People weren't familiar with roundabouts yet. And, you know, here I'm showing the crash rates prior. You see that we're having someone go to the hospital every 3 to 4 months. And then we're also having a lot of car crashes. At least every other month, it looks like we are having a car crash. Now, the 2019, it's hard to kind of use that data because that was during the construction phase, so it's not really accurate. Probably in 2020, we're learning how to drive the roundabout, getting used to it. But look at it now in 2022, now that we're getting more of the community, more of the city of Albuquerque used to driving roundabouts, we're down to 3 property damage only crashes, no injuries. All of the last 2 years, we haven't had any injuries. No one's gone to the hospital since that roundabout's gone in. So
I'm sorry to interject you. On this particular one, so I'll state your name first. Has a traffic study been done of this area to see how it's impacting the other intersections that will probably be used for bypass, possibly? In other words, is this backed up by the city traffic department and engineering and the safety people?
yes, so we'll get into your neighborhood itself when we get through
And let me just say real quickly, like we will do a full Q&A at the end, but let's let her get through the presentation so we're all on the same page.
So here's the silver.
When you have a question, you will mind what the question was, so we can put it out to the staff.
Okay, I will do that. So this is silver that I was mentioning before, that we're kind of looking for the same kind of neighborhood atmosphere to provide to your neighborhood. You can see right now that the concrete has kind of a terracotta color. Oops, that flipped without me meaning it to. But we did some photoshopping. Here's some options of different things that can be done. The different patterns we can stamp, some different colors. This was the ashlar slate. Here's a running bond brick color and pattern. And then we have this European fan, which I kind of really liked. And then I use this opportunity because I went to a conference last month, and I went to an asphalt art presentation. And one of the things they talked about was art in the roundabouts. And they talked about art in the city streets and about, I know, we originally started doing these art crosswalks. That was kind of the beginning of it. And then we found that those were deteriorating really quickly because we had to stop and go traffic. It just had so much activity on it, and paint's not made to stand up to that kind of wear and tear of vehicles. And so what I learned at the conference was how great art can be if you pick locations that don't have the traffic run over them. And so this was a great opportunity that if you guys like this roundabout concept, you could even customize it to your community and what you guys would enjoy. These pictures are from Tucson, and they had volunteers that came up with the design, and they did the painting. It's just a Sherwin-Williams concrete paint that they're putting on there. They're finding that it's definitely lasting a year, and areas that aren't being driven over, they're finding it's lasting 4 or 5 years. So great results with painting it, and another option. So that's the end of my presentation. And so at this time, I am open to take some questions. So you asked about your neighborhood and studies. We actually had for Alvarado, we have the NTMP, Neighborhood Traffic Management Program, and the neighborhood along Alvarado put in an application. It was determined that yes, they qualify for a study. We are in the phase of getting a study done. Historically, what we've done, we've found with these studies, and we think this will be the same for Alvarado as the other streets because it's very similar in its nature, is that it ends up getting recommended roundabouts with a combination of some speed humps. So that's kind of where we think that will go. Ma'am?
What is the geographics of that Alvarado? We also live in Alvarado, but we're not in Mile High.
So the question was, what are the geographics of the Alvarado area? We were looking from Lomas down to Cole on Alvarado, and then on Summer. Council people, can you help me with the?
Yes. So the three intersections that we have heard from folks about are Alvarado and Marble, Alvarado and Mountain, and Summer and Pablo. Those are the three. Pablo. And so those are the three that have started this conversation. But we might find additional issues when the neighborhood traffic study is completed. But for now, those are the three focus areas.
And what we're looking to do is that neighborhood traffic study was only for Alvarado, but we're hearing that there's concerns at other locations as well, like Summer and Pagua. So we're thinking we could combine those into one larger project.
I was thinking as a work with Jennifer, I have to have the link to the traffic study for Alvarado. So if you guys give me an email addresses, I'm happy to send the link for 2021 traffic study.
So for those of you that couldn't hear, we have our PIO officer, Dan Mayfield, with us, and he has graciously offered, if anybody wants to know more details on that traffic study for Alvarado, that please, for you Zoom people, if you could put your email in the link, and he can assist you with that.
So just to clarify, the traffic study, the Alvarado traffic study that you're talking about is the one that was done in 2021, that was south of Lomas, right? That the Alvarado traffic study that was done there. And then now you're talking about doing a new one that's at the intersections that the council mentioned.
No, these are two different items that we're kind of putting together. But the NTMP was just a recent one that was applied for. So I think another application must have gone in 2023 from the neighborhood for that Alvarado neighborhood.
Okay, because there was a traffic study that was done on Alvarado, the south section, in the
Right.
Fair West.
And it's pretty similar. I think maybe it was, if I recall talking to our traffic engineer, I think there was a study that was done earlier and it didn't qualify, but we had some things change, like with ARC coming online and a few other factors change, and they redid a study, and this time around it is qualifying for the traffic calming program.
So just for clarity, would you?
Hey, Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, we got Tim with us. He can clarify. Awesome.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tim Brown. I'm with City Traffic Engineering. I wanted to give you an update. So there was an application put in for Alvarado between Constitution and Lomas. The study is done. It has qualified for a project. So we have not, we just recently completed the study. We have not moved into the design phase. But this discussion that Jennifer is having with everyone here today, the idea of doing some traffic calming on the bike boulevard on Summer does dovetail very neatly with the NTMP project that will happen on Alvarado.
Okay, thanks, Tim. And that helps clarify that the study that was
What
to
I
the
need
north.
to clarify is, I don't know what the initials mean.
Oh, NTMP, the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. And this is a program where, if I believe it's 7 residents put in an application or request, if you get 7 homes to request a study, it goes into our program, and then we evaluate it based on a list of criteria for that program. So we do like a speeding study, and we look at some of the issues in that area, and then if it meets the criteria, then we will go move forward with traffic calming.
What I'd like to suggest is that you and I and Grant talk afterwards, because we've been trying to get this request through for over a year, and we can't get responses.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely discuss
One
it.
simple question, but I think it's very.
Okay, yeah, we
But
will
we'll talk
discuss
about
the
that.
NTMP program afterwards.
On the Constitution and Lomas, what street is that on there?
The study that Tim just referenced
Yeah.
that they approved was on Alvarado between Constitution and Lomas.
So is that the study that's germane to what we're?
We are dovetailing that into the requests for traffic calming at Alvarado and Mountain, Alvarado and Marble, and Summer and Cagua. So we're
Is it-
dovetailing those two projects together to try and get some
Is it
traffic.
related to the flood issues on Alvarado?
No, it is not related to the
Okay.
flood issues on Alvarado.
If 7 homes ask you to add on to another area right over here, is that possible?
The 7 homes can, when we talk about the NTMP and the requirement of the 7 homes, they can only request the area in front of their homes in that region.
Right.
So we don't, to my knowledge, Tim, maybe you can add to this, but it's usually we look at that stretch that they're worried about
Yes.
with that 7 homes.
Yes, there's a group over here that has those worries.
Yeah, and so there's, we have the website, and if you put in an NTMP, you should be able to go to the website and look at the status. A lot of times it's still in review or the study's been complete, and you should be able to find the status. And I know that when they get to that point, whatever the contact information is on the request, usually it's the neighborhood association's president or something, they will get notified of the results.
But can the request go in online?
Yes, yes,
So there's like an application or?
yes, yes. If you go to the City of Albuquerque's website and type in either NTMP or Neighborhood Traffic Management Program, it'll take you to that page, and that will tell you exactly how to apply to have your neighborhood reviewed to see if there's excessive speeding and if traffic calming measures need to be implemented.
So they do cameras, or they figure out, they watch.
They'll
traffic.
do traffic counts, they'll do speed studies.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, they'll do an evaluation of what's
Okay.
going on. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm wondering what other traffic calming measures you considered before going straight to the roundabouts. Roundabouts, don't get me wrong, I like roundabouts. They work great on Silver, but I ride Alvarado quite a lot. And I've never seen the volume of traffic that would create a level of need that would justify the cost of this as a benefit.
So, that's a great question. The question was, what else has been looked at for traffic calming measures? And I mean, one of the things why we like to go to the roundabout system is because if you put in a 4-way stop, it's really common for people on the main thoroughfare of that four-way stop to get used to, if there's not a whole lot of traffic or certain times of the day, you find that four-way stops actually have more crashes than a roundabout does, and they have more injury crashes than a roundabout does, because when people go through a four-way stop, they're at a higher rate of speed. So one of the reasons we like to go to the roundabout is, yeah, the initial cost is a little bit, but it's there forever, right? Like that curb and gutter stays there, whereas, you know, we have signs that get knocked down, and the speeding and the accidents, you know, we're looking for the best level of safety. So we're trying to keep that balance. And that's where we like to go to roundabouts. Yes, Ben?
Jen, I have two questions. I noticed the roundabouts on Silver, in my opinion, seem to be a little small, because I used to live over there and I see car drivers almost like just blow through them at 30 or 40 miles per hour because they didn't have to jog enough around them. So I'm wondering if does DMV have a newer standard for making them wider for these neighborhood improvements?
Yeah. So Ben's question was, if the roundabouts are too small, people can kind of just blow through the sides of them. It doesn't make them slow down. So yes, that is one of the things we look at, is we make sure that the roundabouts are appropriate size. And we're actually looking right now at changing, we use a 4-inch rollover curb, which that slows you down a lot. If anyone's tried to go up and over a 4-inch rollover curb, you don't want to go real fast, but there's also a chamfered curve that we're looking into, because it's even a little more abrupt, but if you have a trailer, you know, for residents who have the big truck with the big camper on the back, you know, they need that little extra room to be able to pull their camper over. And we want to be able to do it. So if they're going really slow, it's fine, but people can't do 20, 30 miles an hour over it. So we are looking at a little bit of different design right now, Ben.
Okay, and my other question was, I think the city ordinance that established the bike boulevards, or I don't know if it's an ordinance, but it's basically like the city bike boulevard guidelines or whatnot, say something to the effect that stopping should be reduced as much as possible on the bike boulevard, and it is the cross traffic that should stop. But I noticed on the way over here that, like at Georgia and Kentucky, the stops were on Summer, but not for the cross traffic. So is that something that might also be changed as part of this project?
So the question was, the bike boulevard, I don't know, recommendations, I'm not sure what.
It's an ordinance.
Is it an ordinance? States that the bike boulevard should have the preference, and there are places where that does not occur. This is actually why this discussion came up, is because when we gave the bike boulevard the preference, it gave large stretches without stop signs, and people started learning that they can bypass through the neighborhoods. And that's the whole idea of what we're doing, is we're trying to keep that intent of the bike boulevard in place while slowing down traffic. And that's kind of one of the reasons that we are talking about the roundabouts in these locations, because we got to balance what we're doing, right? Like we can't give the bikes the right of way all the time, because the cars take advantage, and it makes it a really unsafe corridor, especially for the bicyclists when they have people speeding by them. Yes, ma'am.
So the location that you're talking about, is it at Alvarado and Summer?
The question was, is the location that we're talking about at Alvarado and Summer? And that is a location we can talk about. The locations Councilor Feeblethorne has mentioned that she's been reached out to about the most is Alvarado and Mountain, Alvarado and Marble, and Summer and Cagua.
Okay.
So those are the ones that we've had the most feedback on to date.
The only reason I say that is because I know someone had asked about if this dovetails at all with the Green Stormwater Infrastructure Project. And so I think that, you know, it's worth considering whether this is a measure that would actually fit with that GSI project, because if it was at a location like that, that was actually part of the GSI project. And using that roundabout with either permeable pavement or planting that would help, you know, with the flood drainage might be something we're considering. If the city is going to pay for something that would help calm traffic, that would actually be a good location. and it would mesh with the GSI project. So I think that's definitely worth considering.
So the question was about the GSI project and utilizing the roundabout as part of the GSI project. So we actually discussed putting in landscaping at this location. Before it was mentioned that roundabouts are really expensive. It's even more expensive is setting a water meter, paying the connection fees, and running a irrigation hose over to a roundabout. Like, it's really cutting the pavement, cutting the concrete. Like, it adds so much to the project that's a huge impact cost-wise. That would be up to council if we go forward, but the price break of that, when we can kind of do like fun stuff. That's kind of why we brought up the art. Like, you guys could do something fun in that area. We could make it a depression, so it could be a percolation location and allow the water to run in there. Problem is, most streets are built crown, and so most of the drainage goes away. So the only water that would really percolate is probably what fell on it directly. So there'd be limited value, and redesign the entire intersection to flow into that. So when you try and do something on existing conditions, it takes quite a bit of work because water wants to go down the curb and gutter. So it's easier to put GSI features along the curb and gutter where the water is being directed already, and not, the middle of the street.
Yeah, I guess I understand that, but I also know that, part of the GSI project was, involved bump outs that were going to be planned to be maintained by the city. So maybe there's a way to incorporate something like that. But the other related question is, wherever you put those, it's going to divert water around it. So even if it's one of the other intersections, I'd be interested in seeing whether those roundabouts will, by diverting water around them, will affect, the drainage patterns in the neighborhood, because that's already a consideration in our neighborhood. So, just
it really should not affect the drainage patterns, because the drainage is meant to go off to the curb and gutter. And if it gets that high, then you're already at a rate that roundabout's not going to impact it in that large area of the intersection. And like I said, the intersections tend to be higher drainage-wise, so you're already kind of shedding water off as it sits right now.
And let me just jump in real quick. So we just passed the GSI as part of our complete streets ordinance, and that piece of legislation says whenever possible, we are going to incorporate GSI. I think these specific intersections that we're talking about have not been identified by the experts as places where that would be beneficial to reduce flooding, but we will obviously be double checking. But I think the other thing is that the GSI project is going to be, we're in phase 1A right now, right? And it's going to have to be many, many sites throughout the area. And so as those move on, I will of course be making sure that anything we do median wise or green space wise includes that GSI in complete streets, because I think it's really important. But these specific locations, I did double check, and they are not on any of the modeling that we've received from the experts, and I am not a hydrologist, so I don't know. We'll double check again. But so for these, it just feels like maybe we just get these put in, and then you know me, I'm continually fundraising for all the GSI needs, and hopefully we could have more as we move along. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is not a question, but in response to what Cynthia said, I want to just bring up one thing, which is permeable pavers, which is something that we might consider here. And Tammy's comment that this may not be within the original purview of the ground stormwater thing, this makes it ideal for a pilot project.
So the question
Or
was,
investigating. It's a very small, this is not my question, so.
the statement was we should look at permeable pavers as part of the project, and I agree with you. I think that's an option.
It could be really cool, and it requires no underground irrigation. It just brings the water down from the street level. Okay, so the question is, because I'm an economist, so I'm going to go back to cost here, is you have the roundabouts, which cost a lot, they disrupt the neighborhood a lot, they take a lot of time. whatever happened to speed bumps? Are they like totally, have they been proven to be utterly ineffective? They might be, but like I hate them when I'm in my car. When I'm on my bike, I don't really mind them at all.
So the question was, have we looked into speed bumps? And yes, and we actually have emails going back and forth that we were looking at a combination of utilizing both speed bumps and roundabouts, because we're finding that to be a very effective method to handle traffic calming in neighborhoods. Yes. So I'm pretty certain we'll end up with a couple speed bumps somewhere along the way.
But they're generally inadequate as a, means to an end.
One of the things is a speed bump cannot be put in an intersection. So a speed bump is put mid-block. Crashes happen at intersections. So we want to handle the speeding along mid-block, and we want to handle the crash ratio at the intersection. When we talk about, the cost of economics, sometimes we need to look at how much money it costs the drivers, the taxpayers, like if there's wrecks all the time, all of our auto insurance goes up. So there's a big, huge economic benefit to bringing down crashes overall and throughout the city. So we like to look at all those different locations. Yeah.
Just to be sure I understand where they're going, they're going to be at Alvarado and
Marble.
Marble.
Alvarado and Mountain, and Summer and Cotwood. Those are the three that we're looking at first, because those are the ones that we've heard from constituents about. But I think DMD will look at a larger area to make sure that we're hitting the right spots.
So Summer and Cagua, Summer is that being put there because there's a lot of accidents at that corner, or is that just because that's what the residents have asked for? Because Summer doesn't even line up when it goes across San Pedro. And so is there a lot of traffic on Summer west of San Pedro? Is that why that's the thing?
So let me just jump in. The question was, why are we looking at Summer and Cotwood? And let me just say, nothing's going in anywhere. This is really just a proposal. We wanted to get feedback from the community. This is not a plan. Right. We just have ideas that we wanted to throw out to the community to see if they like them. So I just want to make it really clear. This is not a plan. This is not happening unless the community says they like it. But I will let you answer the rest of the question.
Well, this is once again one of the stretches that ended up without many cross stop signs. So they were finding that people were speeding along Summer. And I think that's how you ended up with the complaints for Summer and Cagua as well. But like she says, we haven't really decided on the intersections. We want to know what the community is open to, because if you guys are like, we don't want a single roundabout in our neighborhood, then we'll end it there. Or if you're like, we love roundabouts, put in as many as you can, we'll start evaluating as much as.
We're not talking about like the kind of roundabout that went in Candelaria and Rio Grande. We're talking about the kind that are along Silver.
Yes, probably a little bit wider in diameter.
And those are very different, and I ride along Silver a fair amount. Is there any indication that they have the desired traffic calming effect? I mean, have studies on Silver to show that things are actually working? Because my impression, that engineered one is very different than the little. Yeah. They're just sort of.
Hey, Jennifer, may I just interject on that one? So first off, I want to jump back to the Summer and Cagua question briefly. So that intersection has gotten a lot of questions because it used to be stop controlled on Summer. And then when the Bike Boulevard went in, that project actually swapped the direction of the stop sign. So instead of being stop controlled on Summer, now Cagua was stop controlled. And the people that lived in the area, used to people slowing down for the stop signs on Summer. Now they don't have a stop sign, and it's a through shot, right? So that was one of the early intersections that people have been complaining kind of regularly about. That's why, in this concept, we suggested putting in a circle at that location regarding the effectiveness of traffic circles, the summer roundabouts were put in, the silver roundabouts were put in as part of a bike boulevard project that is probably now about 10 years old. It predates my time in the city. To my knowledge, there are no before and after speed studies on that section of silver. I can give you my, personal experience. I don't know really who's going to care about that, but as a cyclist, as someone who's going out with my kids and riding bikes with them, much more comfortable riding on that redesigned section of the Silver Bike Boulevard. After the traffic circles went in, my feeling was that drivers were driving more slowly, but I don't have any data to back that up. I have done follow-up studies, not with my time with the city of Albuquerque, but with my time when I was running traffic engineering for the city of Rio Rancho. I was in charge of the traffic calming program there, basically developed it from the ground up. I have done before and after studies, similar projects where I installed traffic circles in conjunction with speed humps and found really significant reduction in significant reduction in speeding. I was basically I call it the problem speeders, right? These are the people who are going 35 miles an hour in a residential road. They're the people that are generating the calls. Someone calls up, "Hey, I saw someone going 50 down my street." Those are the problems that generate the calls. When I've done projects with traffic circles, I found that those problem speeders are pretty much entirely eliminated. There's always going to be some dumb high school kid who, wants to horse his, new Dodge Charger up to, 35 in a residential, and he'll manage to squeeze it in between traffic calming features. I can't engineer that behavior out of everybody, but I can kind of grind it down and reduce that percentage. So I'll go from 10% speeders, 15% speeders down to 1% or 2%. So like I say, no data within the city of Albuquerque, but good data from my time in city of Rio Rancho. Close together, similar drivers, similar road characteristics, design constraints, all that kind of stuff. So I do definitely consider them a useful traffic calming tool. It is probably the best traffic calming tool that we have to put it like within an intersection. Speed humps are the best traffic calming tool that we have to put in between intersections. Super flexible. They don't take up a lot of room. They don't impact on-street parking. Speed humps are great. Traffic circles work really well in intersections. And as Jennifer pointed out earlier, crashes happen at intersections. There's nothing about a stop sign that forces someone to stop, right? Like, we're all trained from when we get our driver's license that red and white octagonal sign, you stop for it, but there's nothing that forces you to do it to modify your behavior. If you're checked out, if you're staring at your phone, if you're just, driving like a jerk and willfully disregarding stuff, that stop sign isn't going to slow anybody down. If you have right of way at that time and someone is driving irresponsibly, then you're probably going to get run into. The really nice thing about traffic circles, roundabouts, is that gives you some of your agency back, right? Not only is this giant feature in the middle of the intersection really forcing someone to slow down, it's this giant obstacle that no one really wants to run into, but it also forces you to slow down and kind of look around and pay attention to what's happening around you, which gives you more time to react when someone is driving irresponsibly, right? That's one of the main reasons why roundabouts generally are safer than a signalized intersection or a stop-controlled intersection, because even if someone else is not doing what they're supposed to, you are still slowing down and kind of being forced to pay attention to what's going on around you, and it gives you the ability to react more quickly to stuff. So that's kind of my 2 cents on all of that. I'll turn it back over to Jennifer and the counselor.
Thanks, Tim. And actually, I'm going to dovetailing on what Tim just said, this lovely conference that I went to. I actually went to a roundabout presentation as well, done by a Dutch company that was talking about the benefits of roundabouts. And one of the statements they said is that roundabouts are still to date in every country across the world found to be the best, most effective calming device there is. And I thought that was a pretty amazing statement to hear. I do have a question here online from William. It asked about, has any thought been given to streetscape narrowing? As part of this project, we have not talked about it. A lot of times we do narrowing with striping, and being residential areas, we do not stripe in residential areas. So the narrowing would be something more like what Council People Report's been working on towards revolve outs and such. I don't believe that's a big area of flooding issues, so I wouldn't think that would be part of the project. But, I appreciate you bringing it up, and we'll definitely look into it now that you put it on our radar. Thank you. Yeah, Ben.
Once we get past like deciding where these things are going to go, or if it's even going to happen, like, what's the timeline just for the rough design for this type of thing?
The question was, what's the timeline for once the decision's made for design and construction? So Tim, you might be able to answer that a little bit better. You've had a couple that have gone in. Can you help with that?
Honestly, at this point, it's largely a question of workload. So, not the only road in the city that's got speeding complaints. I think it's more than 10, it may be more than 20 roads at this point that have qualified for some kind of a traffic calming project throughout the whole city. Some of those are in some level of design or another. So honestly, the longest part is just going to be waiting till staff is able to complete the design or hire a consultant to complete the design. Then at that point, make sure funding's secured. We turn it over to our construction services to get a quote from the contractor, schedule it with a contractor. From the time design is complete, we've done all our public outreach. It's usually about 3 months from when design is done to when construction is complete. I would say based on our current workload, we'd be looking at doing design sometime in the fall. So we would be looking for construction probably sometime early next year.
And I will just jump in real quick on the funding front, because you heard Tim say once funding is secure. I think I have enough, we need to get all the details, but I think I have enough funding in my set asides to do this project if it is something that the community wants. So hopefully that would get us moving faster than having to, start looking for money now.
Where does this fit in with the overall bike plan that's been rolled out recently?
The question was, where does this fit in with the overall bike plan? Well, it is part of the bike boulevard. I don't think there was a whole lot more happening on that in the bike plan, but I'd have to look at that specifically, and I can get you an answer. I can follow up on that.
But Alvarado's been identified as being bike boulevard.
No, I was talking about the summer portion of it, sorry. But I can look into Alvarado and see where it is on that. We just released a new bike plan, and I can check that. Yes.
It's part of the 50 mile.
Yes. It's for those.
It has been for years.
Yeah. We have a long time ago. So this lady back here had her hand raised for a bit.
Did you look at me then?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that in this upcoming traffic study, there is some kind of analysis done about how a traffic circle at Cogwell and Summer interacts with the bike island on San Pedro 1 block away. Because people are going east on Summer and they're coming up to San Pedro right there, 1 block away, 1 short block away from Cogwell. And to have put in a traffic circle there, and then a second later to have cars and bikes all grappling with another traffic calming measure or traffic safety measure that they're, at least the drivers are not hoping to see? I mean, it's just like a lot of quick decisions you're asking our city's really bad drivers to deal with.
So the question was, at Summer and San Pedro?
Yeah.
And that, the fact that Summer and Pagua is very close to that location. The whole idea of this project is that people do the residential speed, that they do 25 miles an hour. So people, if that's the intent of the traffic circle, I hate to accommodate people's bad behaviors. I'm trying to prevent them. So that's where I think that the traffic circle is a huge benefit, to make sure that people don't come flying off of San Pedro and speed down.
I get that, I'm just questioning the proximity of the two and the fact that there's, a stop sign there on Summer before you turn right on San Pedro. And it just seems like it might, and all I'm asking for is to have a consideration made of the interaction between these two different measures. It might, and it might be better if it was moved back a few blocks to like Alvarado in Summer, or one of the streets in between Cagua or something.
Yeah, and Cagua's only coming out because of the, I should repeat the question. She has concerns about the close stop sign to San Pedro and Summer and Cagua, and that maybe we should look at putting the roundabout a little bit further west on the street, on that stretch. And yeah, we can evaluate that. We're only throwing that Cagua and Summer out because of the feedback we've had from the neighborhood so far.
And let me just jump in. I just got a message. If you are online and you have questions, please type them into the chat, and Jennifer will read them out, or somebody will read them out. Just want to make sure that everybody online gets the chance to ask their questions as well. Okay. While we're waiting for, is there one on there?
We have someone had asked about at Cagua and Summer and Alvarado, Marble and Mountain, if we could make that a four-way stop in the interim while we are looking at putting in the traffic calming features. So we can look at implementing that. Once again, as Ben had brought up previously, we do have an ordinance in place to try and give bikes right away. So we kind of be working against our own ordinance if we do make those a four-way stop in the interim. So, but it's definitely worth looking at, because the priority is safety. That's what we're trying for here, is to make things as safe as they can, so we can evaluate that. And sir, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's really a question, but it occurs to me, and I live on 80s Alvarado all the time, frequently, twice a day at least, up and down. And I'm talking about between the Hawk signal at Lomas and Alvarado all the way up to Constitution in Alvarado. My impression that I want to share is twofold. Threefold. Is I'm really reassured by the points that have come out so far from this group and my neighbors, many of whom I don't know. I'm at home a lot. I'm retired. I enjoy having retired here, and it's a wonderful street. I was so happy to realize that I bought a house on a bicycle boulevard. So this kind of comes around to a more of a, I guess it's a question, it's more of an observation, is that traffic is heavy. It has gotten heavier since 2015, when I moved here. It's principally, my observation is it's principally a morning rush hour, an afternoon rush hour, and some days an evening rush hour. And it's only a few cars. It's a little small. It's a mini rush hour, but nonetheless, it's out there. And then there's the occasional freaky people that go 50 miles an hour. You can't get, I don't have time to grab a license plate. I don't use cameras. So So it's kind of a thing. So anyway, let me come back to what I really want to share is that my perception in terms of slowing traffic is it's wonderful to see Alvarado with all the walkers, people that walk either themselves and or their dog and or their child. May or may not be in a stroller. And I think pedestrian traffic has a calming effect. I think bicycling has a calming effect. I would love it if somebody in the city would fix those breaks in the road that go across Alvarado, because with a high pressure bicycle tire, those are a real annoyance. And I suspect that having the street surface in better shape, at least for bicycles, would attract more bicycles. And of course, the weather and the time of day and whatnot attracts bicycles. And I think those have calming effects. So I just wanted to put out there that that's my impression. When people use the street for things other than a car, it has a calming effect. And it's a very pretty street. It's a wonderful street. And I'll just end and thank you for letting me take the time.
Well, thank you for
But
sharing.
the ending is that to me, it's laughable to consider roundabouts in that part of the neighborhood, which actually runs between San Pedro and San Mateo to kind of define it, and Constitution and Lomas. I love roundabouts. I mean, I'll go out and play on one. If you put one in, I'll go play with it with my bicycle. You know, I'll go around both directions probably. I don't know if anybody's written about that, but basically, if you're considering putting it as my intersection, which is right at Dallas and Alvarado, I'm dead set against it. And I think Green's Nursery might be dead set against it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the input. I appreciate that.
So I'm just gonna jump in. Is there anything else on Zoom? I want to make sure that we're cognizant it is 7:30. So we're gonna do one last sweep for quick questions. I know you had your hand up.
Well, I was just gonna say, the thing on San Pedro is to protect bicyclers on San Pedro traffic. You're talking about summer. Those are two different things. I don't see an issue with that roundabout, even if it's close, because it's summer traffic versus San Pedro traffic. I just think.
So back to the question that was earlier about, how close should these various things be? I don't know the answer. Jennifer and Tim know the answer. Before anything got, moved into a design phase, the experts would be out there looking at that kind of stuff just to make sure.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to say if there's a problem or not, but that's why I love Jennifer and Tim, because they know this stuff backwards and forwards. Is there another question on here?
Well, the couple questions was someone asked about e-bikes, and I apologize, I do not know about our policy on e-bikes and when the
the question was about e-bikes. There is a proposal that is in FGO at the moment, Finance and Government Operations, that says there was a state law that was passed that says that class 3 e-bikes can be on city paths and pavements and bike paths. And the state law has to be followed unless a city chooses something different. The proposal right now is available online, or you can shoot me or Amanda an email. We can get it to you. That'll be heard soon. But basically, we're looking at, I believe what will happen is that we are saying that all bikes are welcome, but you have to go slow. You can't go over 20 miles per hour on any path. But I'm hoping, I don't want to take up more time on that, but if you have a position on that, please let me know, because we're just going to be hearing that in committee soon. Okay, so
let me just go through one more. Someone asked if there was just one roundabout or all three. We are looking at trying to do 3 if we can, but the locations are not set. So we are hoping to do multiple roundabouts, and we'll look more into it. But right now, we're trying to find out if the community is amenable to it, because we want to make sure you guys are on board with this project.
So I'm going to ask you all to please make sure that you signed in with Amanda give us your email address so that we can reach you as we think through this option. We might just send out just a quick email to everyone to say, like, just maybe a yes, no, maybe survey. If they're all no's, then I can stop worrying about if I have enough money. But if there's some combination of those things, we can have further conversations around it. So please make sure that your email address is with Amanda. If you're online, please put your email address in the chat so that we make sure that you get it. We will send everything out to the District 7 listserv as well. If you're not on the District 7 listserv, please sign up for the District 7 listserv. You get monthly newsletters that give you all the deets on all these things. And you also get invitations to meetings like this and our monthly D7 Zoom constituent meeting. So I am going to say that I can stick around for a few more minutes to have further questions, but I do want to let people go because it is 7:30. Thank you all for coming. Think through kind of what your position is on this. We'll send out a little survey and we'll see where we go from here. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.